Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we talk about the Election Commission's decision regarding Shiv Sena's party symbol. We also talk about an important change in the guidelines regarding organ donations. But first, we talk about the Bhiwani killings. Last week, in the Bhiwani district of Haryana, 2 bodies were found completely burnt and blackened inside a car, which appeared to have been set on fire. It was later confirmed that these were the bodies of 2 men, Junaid and his friend Nazir, whose families allege that they had been kidnapped by the Bajrang Dal a day before their bodies were found. Bajrang Dal is the youth wing of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the right-wing Hindu organization. In this segment, we speak to Indian Express's Deep Mukherjee about the case and the allegations of the Haryana police being involved in the matter. Deep, let's take a step back. Where does the story of these 2 friends begin?
Yeah, Shashank. So the story begins on 15th of February when, as per the FIR registered in the case, the family says that Junaid and Nazir, who were residents of Ghatmika village in Rajasthan's Bharatpur district, they went out of their houses at around 5 a.m. in the morning. The families have later said that they were going to meet a relative, and once they were going, after that their phones were switched off. And the FIR says that the family got to know from other people like locals who were present there that they were abducted and being taken to Haryana. And in the FIR registered, the family has named Bajrang Dal members. And later, a day after, on the 16th of February, charred Bolero car was found in Loharu in Haryana's Bhiwani district. Inside the car, there were also 2 completely burnt skeletons, which are now clear belong to Junaid and Nazir, the 2 men who went missing from Bharatpur a day back. So that is how the case came into light.
Right, and we now know that both the men were actually from the neighboring state of Rajasthan. So tell us who all have been named in the FIR and what have the police found out?
So the FIR names 5 people as accused: Anil, Shrikant, Rinku Saini, Lokesh Singla and Monu. Of these 5 accused, Rinku Saini, who is a taxi driver from Haryana's Philipose Jhirka, has been arrested, and he is a cow vigilante according to the police. So these are the 5 accused who are named in the FIR.
And you mentioned this person called Monu, whose actual name is Mohit Yadav. And he, like Saini, is also a cow vigilante. In fact, he has a pretty big social media following, and his YouTube channel has over 2 lakh subscribers. So talk about his online presence a bit and the kind of videos one can see on his channel.
Yeah, so Monu Manesar has around more than 2 lakh subscribers on YouTube, and almost all the videos are about like cow vigilantes intercepting cattle that they claim are being taken for slaughter.
आपका भाई मोनू मानेसर और ये भाई मेरी टीम पूरी और ये राजदीप भोकन और ये पूरी टीम लगी हुई है भाई.
So here we can see that these are like people, cow vigilantes, who are separate force of law as if, and they are taking the law in their hands, following pickup vehicles, roughing up people, and also uploading the videos on social media. There are reels or YouTube shorts where chase sequences are shown, and then songs are played in the background to give it a sort of bravery or a valor appearance. So Monu has a lot of followers on social media, and for the past several months his name has been consistently associated with cow vigilantism in Haryana.
And Deep, according to the version of the police, what do they say happened in the case?
Yeah, so what is confirmed right now that the police say that the cow vigilantes did pick up the 2 men on suspicion of cow smuggling from somewhere in Rajasthan, and later they were taken to Haryana. So as for Monu Manesar, after the incident, Monu released a video on social media claiming that he and the Bajrang Dal didn't have anything to do with the incident. But the fact is that the Rajasthan police are presently searching for him because he's an accused in the case. And also, so Rajasthan police have said that they were taken to Haryana, and they are currently trying to establish the exact sequence of incidents. And also, three teams of the Rajasthan police are presently in Haryana trying to nab the remaining accused in the case.
And what are the families of Junaid and Nazir saying about all of this? What are their allegations?
Yeah, so when I visited the village after the incident, there was palpable anger and a lot of people had gathered in Ghatmika, especially the family members. The family members were mourning the deaths of these two people, Junaid and Nazir. And I went to the house of Junaid and I could see his wife Sajida, she was unconsolable and people were trying to calm her. Even Nasir's family was also grief-stricken. And what the people say is that Muhammad Jabir, who is a cousin of both the men, he maintained that Monu Manesar is involved in the incident. And they also made the allegation that the Haryana police was coordinating with the Bajrang Dal, and that the Bajrang Dal people had wanted to hand over the men to the Haryana police, but the Haryana police didn't agree because the men by that time were badly beaten up, and thereafter the men were burnt alive. That is what the family members are accusing, and their claims need to be verified. But they want strict punishment for the accused, and the Rajasthan police said that the Junaid had 5 previous cases of cow smuggling registered against him, but the family members have emphatically denied any involvement of his in cow smuggling. And even the Rajasthan police say that in the present incident, so far there hasn't been any evidence that the two deceased men were traveling with cows or bovines. They do say that the cow vigilantes picked them up on suspicion of cow smuggling, but no cows were involved this time.
Right, and one of the accused in the matter, Rinku Seni, he has now told something to the police that is actually in line with what the families have to say. So talk about what that is.
Yeah, so the police have said that during interrogation, Saini has claimed that the two men were handed over to the Haryana police by the cow vigilantes. Now, the Rajasthan police say that this is a claim that need to be verified, and they are doing the needful. But what Saini has said matches with what the family of the two victims have said, kind of corroborating the family's story. The family has maintained that the Haryana police was coordinating with those who picked Junaid and Nazir, and the same thing has been kind of corroborated by Saini, who is saying that the two men were handed over to the police. What happened afterwards and how those two men ended up in the burnt car, their bodies charred beyond recognition, that needs to be investigated. But this is a very important revelation, that what Saini has said during his interrogation about the Haryana police's alleged involvement.
And Deep, in this village that we are talking about, some 5 years back, another man named Umar Muhammad had also been allegedly killed by cow vigilantes. Talk about what happened in that case.
Yes, so when I visited Ghatmika, the village in Bharatpur, after the recent 2 killings of Junaid and Nazir, it was actually my second visit to the village in the last 5 years. 5 years ago, I had gone to the village to meet the family of Umar Muhammad, who was also allegedly killed by cow vigilantes while ferrying cattle, and his body was found in Alwar, on the railway tracks in Alwar. And it was now the recent 2 killings have kind of brought back the memories of Umar's death for his family. I spoke with his family, and they said that ever since Umar's death, they're struggling with poverty. His son Maqsood had to stop his education to fend for the family. His wife Khurshidan worked as a laborer to feed their children, and they kind of lamented that even though 5 years have gone back, there hasn't been punishment for those accused in the case. So the Mehboob Khan, the lawyer of the family, says that The case is presently being in trial stage, and although all the accused who were charge sheeted by the police for killing Umar, they are presently out on bail.
And next we talk about the Shiv Sena. Last year, senior Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde revolted against the party, took the majority of the MLAs with him and formed a new faction. This faction then allied with the BJP and formed a new government in Maharashtra. And since then, the two factions of the party have been fighting over who should get to use the original party symbol, which is represented by a bow and arrow. Should it be the rebel Eknath Shinde faction or the Uddhav Thackeray faction whose father founded the Shiv Sena? Now, the Election Commission was the one that had been deciding on this matter. And finally, after more than 4 months, the commission last week decided in the favor of the Eknath Shinde faction. In this segment, we speak to Indian Express's Damini Nath about how the Election Commission made this decision.
So the Election Commission on February 17th decided that the Shiv Sena name and symbol should go to the Eknath Shinde faction. The EC came to this decision basically using the test of majority. They found that Shinde had the support of 40 MLAs and 13 MPs from both houses of parliament.
And was Shiv Sena having the majority the only thing that the EC looked at to arrive at this decision?
So no, that wasn't the only criteria, but it was at the end judged to be the best way of deciding this dispute. The EC also considered the test of party constitution and test of aims and objects. Now this, along with test of majority, was decided by the EC as the right criteria in its Sadiq Ali case of 1971. At that time, the EC was deciding a dispute within the Congress for control of the party, and it came up with these 3 criteria for judging such a dispute. But in the end, it found that the test of majority was the best way.
Okay, so you mentioned 2 things, the test of party constitution and the test of aims and objects. Explain to us what those are and why did the EC rule them out?
Yeah, so what that means is that a party constitution would have the way the office bearers are to be elected, what the party's main principles are, what its objects are. So the EC also looks into that, whether these people, both factions, whether they have support of office bearers who have been elected as per the party constitution, whether both of the factions are abiding by the principles of the party. But in this case, what happened was that the party constitution was amended in 2018, and this amended version was not submitted to the EC. Now, every registered party is supposed to submit any change in its constitution or list of office bearers to the EC as and when it happens. So in this case, the EC only had an older version of the Shiv Sena constitution of 1999, in which the list of office bearers and the process of appointment was different. So the EC found it could not rely on the test of constitution because it could not agree with all the factions about which version of the constitution to actually look into.
And now, since the decision, the Uddhav Thackeray faction has spoken out pretty strongly against the Election Commission. Uddhav himself said that the EC was acting like a slave, that its decision is dangerous for Indian democracy, and that his party will now approach the Supreme Court against the move. But now, during the court battle, what were the arguments that were made by both Shinde and the Uddhav Thackeray factions?
So the Shinde faction basically said that the test of majority was the best way forward. They explained that the constitution was amended to give the party president, who was Uddhav Thackeray at the time, more powers, and the party president could appoint office bearers as he chose. So the Shinde faction said that you could not really rely on support of these office bearers when the party president himself had chosen these people. On the other hand, the Uddhav Thackeray faction said that while majority, of course, was one of the criteria, the other 2 criteria could not be ignored.
And Damini, this development comes at a time when 2 by-elections are right around the corner in Maharashtra. So what does this mean for the Shinde faction from an election standpoint?
So in its order, the EC has told the Shinde faction that they can use the name Shiv Sena and the bow and arrow symbol for the two bypolls on the 26th of February. And for the Thackeray faction, they will continue using the name and symbol that they were allotted in the interim order last year. And this is only an interim measure.
And in the end, we talk about organ donations, which save and improve millions of lives every year. Last week, the Union Health Ministry decided to make a change in the way people can receive organ donations. This was done by changing the guidelines of NATO,
National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization.
That's Anonna Dutt, and she reports on health for the paper.
So their guidelines so far used to say that for receiving the cadaver donations, that is, organs from people who have died, you could only receive it only if you were below the age of 65 years.
So if you were an elderly above the age of 65 in need for, say, a kidney transplant, then you could not get one through a cadaver donation.
What this means is they could still get an organ from a family member, living family member, but they could not get a cadaver organ.
But last week, the Health Ministry decided to change these guidelines and remove this cap. And this is a big deal because in India, a lot of elderly are in need of organ donations but have very limited options.
So this will actually open up cadaver transplants for a lot of people in the older age who are, of course, the ones who need it more because living a long time with conditions such as hypertension and diabetes can lead to, say, kidney failure. And a kidney is one of the most commonly transplanted organ. So one of the studies actually suggested that around 40% of the people who need some sort of supportive therapy for kidney, so either kidney transplant or a dialysis, 40% of these people were above the age of 65 worldwide. So these people did not have access so far to cadaver organs. But officials have said that, of course, healthier people in a lower age group would be given preference. But those above the age of 65 years won't be completely barred from the process.
And Anonna says that the thinking behind this is that 65 is no longer considered that old. People today, after all, are living much longer than they used to. So this move will really help those in need. And this is especially considering the fact that over the years, diseases related to lifestyles have been going up.
We have people, especially in India, if you look at India, Southeast Asia, people tend to get hypertension, diabetes at an earlier age than in the West. People have central obesity, which is also a risk factor for cardiovascular diseases, and it affects all these organs. So two things, people are living longer and people are living longer with these diseases, which leads to more people needing organ transplants.
And she says that right now there is a huge demand and supply mismatch. There are far fewer donors compared to those who need donations.
So it's said that an estimated 1.5 to 2 lakh people need kidney transplant every year. And we do less than 10,000 kidney transplants. And this is when we are including both living donor transplants and deceased donor transplants. And living donor transplants make up for like 80% of all transplants.
And besides removing the cap for receiving cadaver donations, Anonna points out some other guidelines that have also been changed.
So it's not so much as a change as explicitly stating so. So some of the states were charging registration fees, which was never part of the guideline. So now they have explicitly told the states not to do so. So states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, I think Telangana, Tamil Nadu, some of these states were charging around 5,000 to 10,000 for people to register to get on the waiting list for cadaver donations, to receive the organs basically. So they've been told not to do that. They have also been asked to remove any domicile restrictions. So some of the states had restrictions like they would only offer the organs to people from their state or prioritize people from their state. So now NATO has said this should also not be done. So anyone from anywhere in India can get registered in whichever hospital they want, whichever place they want to register at for cadaver donation.
You were listening to Three Things by The Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Rahel Philipose and me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.